The concept started at my desire to communicate that feeling I get when I look at digital media works, which is this overwhelmingly positive feeling. I wanted an audience to be able to experience projections and projection mapping the way that I have in the past. It's always been a really exciting experience. I've always felt a passion for things that sync up with the music and have this rhythm to it, when visuals and lights just move in cohesion with sound. I worked closely with a sound designer, matching the visuals with the accents in the music, just like a choreographer would do with a dancer. This was a big part of making that overwhelming feeling, that feeling of passion and rhythm and dancing. That was a big part of the conceptual steps as well as the technical approach throughout. It fused in the editing style as well as the concept of how the boards would be positioned so that it would start small and grow, just like a movement of a dancer. And everything was ultimately choreographed to the sound so that it matched in a way that was exciting and stimulating. I was working on a tight budget for this project. I decided to work with core flute because it was something I could shape easily without any equipment except for a simple knife or some scissors. I also decided to build a structure to suspend the boards from. A big part of this was knowing the uncertainty due to COVID with this project. I wanted to be able to have something to hang it from no matter where I was setting up at the end of the day. I bought 4 boards of core flute and cut them out to the desired shape. I assembled the structure, which was a cube of steel tubes from Bunnings, and I just used string to hang that core flute down in the position you see in the video. I originally tried to hang with wire as I thought that would be more efficient, but the string ultimately was the best decision there. I didn't need the structure for the video work. As you can see here, I had a structure in my backyard to hang it from. This also worked really well for the filming because there was no structure in the way and I was able to get lots of angles. Halfway through making this project, we got put into lockdown, which meant this work went from being something that was being perceived as an installation work in person to something that would only be perceived from a screen as a video work or documentation of the installation. Not having access to the original sculpture, I made a quick, smaller version with the leftover core flute. This version still had 8 boards, but they didn't overlap and it was about half of the size of the original. In the end, it worked to my advantage for the video work. Because there was no overlapping parts to the sculpture, the projections were able to pass through every board without having any shadows being made. Although in person it didn't give as much of an element of depth that the original did, it worked to my advantage for the video and the filming of this work. Having no shadows meant that the video was able to pick up each individual layer really effectively, and it was clear to see what I was attempting to do, lighting up one board at a time. That effect became really clear. I stand by the original structure as being the best for an installation viewing. The shadows caused by the overlapping boards work to an advantage in an installation viewing because those shadows created this depth that was something that really can only be perceived in person. Whereas on video, the smaller model worked best. The original plan for this installation was to have the projector positioned at the front. This came with a lot of problems, being that when the audience would come in to see the installation, they couldn't get directly in front of the boards to see down the tunnel without blocking the projection and creating a lot of shadows on the work. This meant that having the projector directly in front wasn't really an option for the installation, and having it from the sides caused a lot of problems with shadows as well, except from the boards. I decided to move the projector behind the boards so that the light would pass through the core flute and illuminate from behind to be perceived from the front. So a big disadvantage to having the projector at the back was that the light would be diffused and wouldn't be as vibrant and have as much contrast as it did when it was being projected from the front. This made it a lot less overwhelming. In the editing of the video to be projected, I put an adjustment layer over everything and minimized the whites, as well as having moments where the saturation and the hue were one color in particular. This really brought the saturation of the entire video up and it achieved that effect I was going for, where the entire environment would be changed by the projections. I'm really happy with how the work turned out. I think I'm definitely not done with the idea yet. I want to see it in person with people walking through and being able to experience it. I think I've achieved my end goal, which was to help people experience how I experience digital media work. I hope this piece lets people experience the passion and the excitement that comes with experiencing light and projection mapping in person.